From River West, the greatest neighborhood in the world, right here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, it's The Log, and I'm Charles Purcell. And I'm not in bed. So we had the acquittal, the Senate acquittal on Saturday, and on Sunday, I had a very hard time getting out of bed. It was the classic cliched depression. But then I got a phone call from my sister to wish me a happy Valentine's Day. We're the two singles among our many siblings. And we like to talk politics. She's a good conversationalist when it comes to events of the day. And she got me feeling a little better. And now I talk to you. It's a good thing I didn't talk to you on Saturday after this happened. I needed a day to digest this. So the mood improvement that my sister provided, she really gave me a kind of a, this is the first day of the rest of our lives kind of an attitude. And there's something to be said for that. Let's look at 2021 and its potential. Here's best case scenario. And it's always good to look at best case scenario. It's not pie in the sky. It's good to visualize, affirm at least the possibility of good news, to know that it's possible. Well, we could continue to have success with the vaccine, and as 2021 progresses, more and more of us are vaccinated. Numbers which are declining rapidly right now, they're still very, very high. We're still above our previous peak. We've had 3 peaks now, right? Each one bigger than the last. Peak number 1, number 2, and then we're just coming down from peak number 3, but we are still above the numbers from peak number 2. So that's how bad it still is. So we got to keep going. But the point is, the numbers are going down. Vaccinations are going up. COVID infections can continue to go down. That would be great. Vaccinations continue to go up. That would be great. All right. Okay. So there's one thing. Talking about the potential of 2021. Joe Biden might continue if we keep pushing him from the left, which we have been. We, meaning just the collective left, as we dedicated some time the other day on the show. It's so far so good for Joe. No, he's not Eugene Debs. He's not Bernie Sanders. He's not Saul Alinsky. He's not Noam Chomsky. But so far so good. He's getting the job done. We're going to get through with the COVID relief plan here pretty quickly. That's going to be passed. He's not waiting around for Republicans. He's not playing that game. He's keeping his nose down. He's going to work every day. He's getting it done. He played the impeachment thing perfectly, which is to say he didn't play it at all. He just kept out of it entirely. Made one small statement over the weekend, which was expected and appropriate. But he totally kept out of that. That's great. What else could happen in 2021? New York, Georgia, D.C., where else? Maybe even the Justice Department can make the Orange Menace's life a living hell. So as much as he wants to be this big player, this big kingmaker in the Republican Party, he might have to spend most of his time fending off lawsuits and criminal charges. One of the commentators mentioned the other day that he could have dozens and dozens of civil suits filed against him, brought by private parties. The Q shaman guy could sue him. Hey, I was doing this for you. You made me do this. You were the cult leader. I'd never considered that before until this commentator mentioned it. Yeah, you know what? That could very well be. They're all telling the judges, hey, he made me do it. He was the boss. He was calling the shots. So just add that to his legal woes. And that's not even to mention all the stuff that was already in the pipes. All the sexual harassment and rape charges, all the tax stuff that he's going through. He could just be buried up over the orange nest on his head in litigation. And could, by the end of this year, literally be behind bars. How great would that be? So I'm looking at the best case scenario for 2021. He's doing his very best to destroy the Republican Party, and we've got to talk about that. But just for the moment, let's say he's cutting it in half, and it appears that he's winning now. I mean, there were only 7 senators who voted for conviction out of 50. So 7 out of 50, 14%. Even I can do that easy math in my head. And that's about right. About 14% of the party right now. That includes the House, the Senate, and I would even say the base. About 14% is so-called normal Republicans. We got to talk about that too. There's no such thing. And 86% fascist. I'm not going to use the term Trumpism. I don't like that term. Let's just call it what it is. Fascist. White nationalist fascism. Okay, let's just stick with terms that are tried and true. Let's try to keep some precision in our language here. So I'm not going to use the term Trumpism, and I would encourage you not to use that term when you're discussing these issues with your friends and family around the kitchen table. So here's another way 2021 might be just one of the greatest years of our lives. When the Republican Party has a real opportunity here to implode, and by the time we get to the 2022 midterms, they lose ground in the House, they lose ground in the Senate, large filibuster-proof majorities, established and entrenched, a permanent exhortation of the fascist Republican Party. These are all things that really could happen in 2021. They are in the realm of possibility. So let's try to keep that in our minds. Let's know what we're fighting for here. And if I had come to you before that telephone conversation with my sister yesterday, I might very well, in fact, I'm quite sure, I would have been wallowing in the anger, dread, rage, and fear that had a grip on me ever since 2:51 p.m. Central Time on Saturday when they came back with that 57-43 vote tally. Now, could the worst case scenario happen? Sure, that's just a truism about life generally. The worst could happen, the best could happen. But for about 24 hours there, I could not see the best case scenario. Couldn't even imagine it. I could only see gloom and doom. So I love my sister. She really did it for me. I hope you're listening. I love you. So there's best case scenario, there's worst case scenario, and then there's just hard, cold facts. So let's for the rest of our time together today, let's try to talk about some hard, cold facts, okay? It's official. We now have a very sizable white nationalist fascist party in America. And if you have an R next to your name, whether you're an office holder or a registered voter, if you have an R next to your name, you are part of that party. You are a member of a fascist, white nationalist party. I don't care if you want to tell me what a good person you are or what a moderate you are. That doesn't fly anymore. If you have an R next to your name, you're part of a fascist party. That's a fact. People want to keep talking about these so-called moderates. And yeah, we had the 7 who voted for conviction. Good. Thank you. But you know what else they voted for? They voted for the incumbent president. That's who they voted for. In November of 2020, they voted for him. After 5 years of seeing exactly what he was capable of, they still voted for him. So no, there's no such thing. Don't give me this. There's no such thing as a moderate Republican. It doesn't exist. It's a mythical creature. Adam Kinzinger has been getting a lot of attention, doing a lot of interviews, a lot of press. One of the 10 Republicans who voted for impeachment in the House. He voted for the Orange Menace in 2020. Everything we've all seen, that wasn't enough for him. Nope, he still supported the Orange Menace. Adam Kinzinger is no hero. He's no profile in courage. He's no moderate. I went back, I checked his voting record. He voted with the Orange Menace 99% of the time, plus. He had a 99+ % voting with the Orange Menace. Voted against impeachment 1. The only time he broke away from the Orange Menace was over the big lie and over January 6th. It took that long. It took that's the bar. That's how high the bar was for Adam Kinzinger. He went 99% of the time just step by step, right along with the Orange Menace for 5 years. And he finally found a line he wouldn't cross. Well, good for him, I guess. Okay, well, at least he's got that much. You want to praise him for that? Fine. But as my mother used to say, that's a day late and a dollar short. So there's no such thing as a moderate Republican. It's a unicorn. It's a dodo bird. We've had years, we've had decades. Voter suppression, gerrymandering. Not a peep, not a word from these guys. Nope, they're good with all that. They only win in the first place because of the arcane makeup of the Senate, because of the racist Electoral College, established to maintain a slave-based political economy. So it's the only reason they've been in power for all these years. And they continue to lean on that and even lean into it. They're completely committed now. Dozens and dozens and dozens of voter suppression laws proposed just since the election, just this year, 2021, the year we have such high hopes for, already in these 2 short months, month and a half. Bills proposed across the red states to make voting more difficult. If they can't win, then they have to win by cheating. And that's just the politics of it, not even talking about policy. Republicans, so-called moderate Republicans, they've been fine with voodoo trickle-down economics, which has been exposed for years as a complete and utter fraud, and yet they cling to it. Absolute cruel, deadly immigration policy. The continuation of white supremacy in every aspect of America, housing, immigration, health, policing, jobs, education, you name it. The constant attack on women's rights. And again, I'm talking about both the party officials, the office holders, and their base, the voters. You got an R next to your name, you are a member of a white nationalist fascist party. And if that's what you want, just say it out loud. Let's get our cards on the table here. But if you think that's not the case, if you're still trying to make excuses, if you still think you can work from within, if you still think there's such a thing as a moderate Republican, wrong. And there are not 2 Republican parties. Everybody wants to say that now. There's the establishment wing and there's the Orange Menace wing. That's just fodder for the Sunday talk shows. The chattering class are going to have a lot of fun with that. That's fun to talk about. It's great grist for the mill. But that's all it is. And now, on top of all that, on top of all the voter suppression and the dirty tricks, the horrible failed policies of corporate welfare and tax breaks for billionaires, autocracy for everybody else, and this massive transfer of wealth, on top of all of that, now we also have this militant wing, this violent wing. The Proud Boys, Boogaloos, the 3 Percenters, the militias. Scott Soriano has a great piece. I'll share it on the Facebook page, describing the new paramilitary wing of the Republican Party. Let me repeat that, the paramilitary wing. And it's not just January 6th, obviously. We have the infamous stand back and stand by order from the Orange Menace, a phrase that they took on as their motto immediately afterwards, the Proud Boys, and then followed up with their Million MAGA March, where they went out looking for violence, vandalized black churches. Over the summer, they took advantage of Black Lives Matter protests, infiltrated, created violence, attacked and destroyed businesses, police stations, with the expressed purpose of inciting violence and war on behalf of white nationalism. And Republicans, even the moderate ones, not a peep. No recognition, no admission of the role played by their own paramilitary. And to this day, and even in the trial, even in the impeachment trial, still peddling the myth, the lie, that Black Lives Matter protests were violent. Still peddling the lie that Antifa is somehow the aggressor. The kid from Illinois comes up to Kenosha, Wisconsin, kills a couple of people in the name of white nationalism, white vigilantism. We had the whole Liberate Michigan thing with several attacks on their capital with the plot to kidnap and possibly assassinate the governor. And again, the Republican Party, not a peep. The Orange Menace tweets, "Liberate Michigan." After all of this, he knows what's going on. Just like he knew exactly what was going on when he told Kevin McCarthy, "Well, I guess these people are more upset about the election than you are." When he cheered on the insurrectionists while they were on the attack. In this piece by Scott Soriano, he reminds us, and he goes back further. The Minutemen Project at the southern border goes back to 2004. Organized militias in Oregon. The so-called Lambs of Christ, anti-abortion paramilitary groups. Clive Bundy and his boys with armed occupations. I was working with SiriusXM, I remember at the time, when the 2009 report came out, also mentioned in this piece I'm looking at right now. 2009, the Justice Department issued a report on the emerging threat of right-wing terrorism. The report warned that, quote, right-wing extremists may be gaining new recruits by playing on their fears about several emergent issues. It also predicted that the possibility of new gun restrictions and the return of military veterans facing significant challenges reintegrating into their communities might mean emergence of terrorist groups or lone wolf extremists capable of carrying out violent attacks. The report called this convergence of factors the, quote, most dangerous domestic terrorism threat in the United States. Soriano reminds us that House Majority Leader John Boehner, considered one of the moderates, suppressed the report, as did all Republicans at the time. I remember reporting on this for SiriusXM. It was poo-pooed by virtually all Republicans, moderate, extreme, whatever you want to call them, whatever wing of the Republican Party you want to name. And I contend there are no wings. It's one big old fat bird. And these Michigan-type militias, just go to the archives. You can go back to the 80s and the 90s. They're making some noise. So in addition to voter suppression, in addition to political tricks, in addition to proven failed policies that are racist and unjust, peeling back safety regulations, welfare for the rich, austerity for the poor, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, minority community rights, politics, policy, and now firmly established, Soriano makes a very important point here, firmly established an operational paramilitary wing of the Republican Party. Now, they're very careful to establish plausible deniability. When they get in front of the cameras, they can say how much we oppose violence when asked directly. But their tacit approval over decades now has evolved into an outright, overt embrace. And February 13th, 2021, when the United States Senate failed to convict the Orange Menace, they tied a big old bow on that ribbon. It was the star on top of the tree. It was the cherry on top of the ice cream. It's done now. It's established. It's a fact. Don't give me this two-party crap. It ain't true. If you got an R next to your name, you're a fascist. I'm saying it. I'm telling you. Deny it all you want. You can't deny it anymore. Here's an interesting stat shared by Ari Berman. You know those 57 senators who voted to convict the Orange Menace represent 76.7 million more Americans than the 43 senators who voted to acquit. I think the number generally in Congress is about 41 million, if I'm remembering correctly. Democrats represent 41 million more Americans than do Republicans. On this particular vote, on this one vote, 57 to 43, once again, the 57 senators voting to convict represent 76.7 million more Americans than the 43 senators who voted to acquit. And still we keep hearing oh my God, everybody, right, left, and center, keeps saying, well, we need a Republican Party. We need a strong Republican Party. No, we don't. No, we don't need a Republican Party. Let them die. Kick them while they're down. Destroy them. Yes, we need political diversity. Yes. I've said many times, I want diversity of thought, of opinions, positions. I wish I could give credit. Somebody, some post I saw said, Why do you keep saying we need a Republican Party? Why don't you say we need a Green Party? We need a party of the left, because that's what we need. We've got plenty of diversity, plenty of issues we can fight about. What's the right path to go down here? The range from Bernie Sanders, who's a little left of center, to establishment Democrats, Joe and the rest, who are right of center. And then we go further with AOC and the squad, and then you keep going and you get to the real lefties who are right now not represented. The Greens aren't represented in the political spectrum right now. They have no voice. I have no voice, not meaning myself personally. I mean, what I espouse has no voice on the playing field right now. So there's plenty of room for diversity in politics. I welcome it. I do not welcome a single thing the Republican Party stands for right now, whatever moderate costume they want to dress up in. So stop saying that. If you're somebody who said that, think about what you're saying. We need a strong Republican Party. No. What you mean to say is we need political diversity. I agree with that. But the Republican Party, after years, after decades of fascist creep, of being on the wrong side of every issue, and culminating in full-blown orange fascism, no, we don't need them. So what's to do now? What do we do now? Well, first, we do everything we can to hasten the complete demise of the fascist party. And we do that by letting them beat themselves up, encouraging that at every step. We do that by continuing to produce good policy, get this COVID bill passed, get some immigration reform passed, get some infrastructure passed, do good work. And that's where I've been praising Joe. He's just doing the work. Good. More immediately, I'm going to encourage Congress to invoke Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which would prohibit the Orange Menace from ever holding office again. I've said for quite a while now, and I thought maybe a time or two I was changing my view on this, but no, every time I always come back to this, and I really believe that prohibiting him from running again would be a very good step. There are some people who are taking quite a lot of comfort right now in the fact that his poll numbers are down. They keep telling us, well, he lost the presidency, he lost the Senate, he lost the House, he's a loser. Yeah, okay. I guess I could take some comfort in that, but it's no guarantee. No, I want him off the field. Just the very fact that he's eligible to run gives him power. Remember, I'm the one who keeps reminding you, we're not a 50-50 nation. This is a small number, the fascists. But the problem is they hold a massively outsized power for their numbers. And they've got a national media that wittingly or unwittingly promotes and bolsters that power because it's weird and exciting and dangerous. So they are a small fraction of the overall populace. But this outsized power they have makes them extremely dangerous. They absolutely have the power through gerrymandering, through voter suppression, all the things we've talked about. It's very possible they could take the House, the Senate in 22, and the presidency in 24. It could happen. We cannot let that happen. And nothing brings this home more than Mitch McConnell's now infamous speech immediately following the Senate vote, where he said that the Orange Menace was practically and morally responsible for provoking the actions of January 6th. His takedown of Trump was classic. He ripped into the Orange Menace in a way that would make Jamie Raskin blush. Steve Schmidt couldn't have written a better screed against the Orange Menace. And yet he falls back on that tortured logic regarding constitutionality, which was a bogus argument, but he needed that little ploy to have it both ways. Because Mitch McConnell, in his entire political life, has never done anything that wasn't solely for his power, his own personal power. That's the only motivation for Mitch McConnell. So he finds a bogus excuse to acquit. He lies about the Senate timetable and the fact that it was too late after inauguration. It didn't have to be, and it was his choosing. So he lies about that. hangs his hat on a bogus constitutional argument. Everybody knows it's bogus, but it gives him an out. Because if he had voted to convict, well, that would have been his last day as leader. So he couldn't do that, and he knew it. Again, it's all about Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is all about Mitch McConnell. So in order to keep his leadership, he had to vote to acquit. He found a bogus little reason to do it. But now he knows that the Orange Menace is bad for the party. At least that's his calculation. So he rips on the Orange Menace. Again, not out of any sense of morality or duty. It works for me. You may have thought that the worst person in America left Washington on a helicopter on January 20th. No, the worst person in America sits at the big desk in the office of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. So what's next? 14th Amendment, Section 3, prohibit the Orange Menace from running again. Got to do that. Joe, keep doing what you're doing. Do the work. Do the best possible work you can. My mantra, good policy is good politics. Keep it there. Joe, allow your Department of Justice to go after the Orange Menace for every crime he committed while in office. None of this has to make headlines. You don't have to talk about it every day. In fact, don't talk about it at all. Just you're disciplined. You're good. You're good this way. You did it through the impeachment. Don't talk about it. Don't make headlines. But just say, Merrick Garland, you have my full permission. Investigate every potential crime that he committed his 4 years in office. And if you want to go get him, go get him. You are my independent attorney general. Merrick Garland, do it. Merrick Garland, while you're at it, appoint a special counsel, a Mueller-type counsel regarding January 6th and the events that led up to it and followed. We also need a 9/11 style commission. All of this can happen. It's a big government. They're capable. And I'm going to stress once again, they don't have to make headlines every day. Do it quietly, but do it. Put hundreds and hundreds of people on the job and do it. And then, as previously mentioned, courts in New York, in Georgia, in D.C., wherever else it's applicable, go after the guy, put the Orange Menace in an orange jumpsuit. None of this has to be political. I stress once again, Joe, Democrats in Congress, work like you've never worked before. And if anybody asks you about all this stuff, you say, I don't know, that's not my responsibility right now. That's why I'm not suggesting that any Senate or House investigative committees pursue any of this. No, my God, no. But a 9/11 commission, yes. A Mueller-type investigation, yes. State courts, yes. DOJ, yes. Congressmen and women, senators, President Joe, cabinet members, keep your hands clean of all of this. Not my job. Not my clowns, not my circus. And I think if this is the strategy we follow, the Republican Party will die a well-deserved death, and 2021 and forward can look more like the best case scenario than the worst. All right, my 2 cents. Sticking to it. I love you. I'm Charles Purcell.